Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2 of Back in My podcast called From Ideas to Income.
Woohoo! We're back.
We're back. Episode 2. We made it.
How exciting. I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's been a good week, too.
Yeah.
This last week, we asked everybody for feedback. And then I had a really good day interviewing. I got about 10 more interviews in the pipe.
That's awesome.
I know, it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of good conversations I've had, and I don't know, I'm really excited about it.
I'm excited to learn more about people and what they do, because that goes into me. I'm a people watcher, and I can watch people, but I'm also learning what people do behind the scenes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of people watching?
A different kind of people watching with the people listening.
So we did get a lot of feedback from people. We're going to try to put some feedback, use some of the feedback as we move forward. But a lot of the feedback was different new questions we can ask. Unfortunately, there's a lot of interviews that I already have recorded and queued up, so I can't go back in time, but we will start to see. There's some questions I really liked. Like somebody said something about asking the best ways that they advertise and stuff like that, you know?
It's good to know that, though. I want to know where people advertise and where to look for and who's the best, not the cheapest, but the best.
Yeah.
And the best might cost a little bit more, but you also have to look at their reviews. Are they a 1.5? Are they a 5? Are they a 4? I mean, it kind of depends on what we're looking for.
Is there any other feedback you got?
Some of the feedback, we did ask like spot on questions. This is like where we can help somebody grow because we're learning about different businesses. And say someone wanted to open a business, and this is a how-to guide, a step-by-step walkthrough kind of thing. Yeah, those are the things, like the feedback that I got. I got a lot of feedback on we were awesome.
I got that too.
We flow well together. We have great chemistry. But
I got a lot of the, it sounds like your first podcast. And I was like, Hey, guess what? It was.
Yeah. I didn't have people tell me that. I just got you and Dan flow well together. And one person said that we had great chemistry. And then she was like, but that's to be expected because of who you guys are.
Because we're awesome.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but
we're not egotistical, but you know, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck,
then we're awesome.
All right.
So yeah,
let's get into it.
Perfect.
So we interviewed a lady named Tina. She is the founder, her and her partner, right?
Her and her best friend. Mm-hmm.
Kayla, right?
Yep.
Her and Kayla got together and put together a company called Krud in Korners. It's a company that cleans houses, like residential houses. I don't think they do commercial. It was just residential.
Just residential. Very insightful things. Things to look for while you're listening. Listen for Tina's positivity. I will speak for that. I feel like Tina radiates positivity. Doesn't matter. Like if you're listening to this podcast and you'll feel that, but even being with her in person, that's who she is.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting how she talks about how they do their pricing and like how they can say yes and no. Yeah. So kind of listen for those things.
She basically carried the conversation. She was really great. A couple things that I have to warn about is I was sick during that time when I interviewed her. So I cleared my throat quite a bit in some of the parts, and we were still in an echoey room. I think I got all the echoes, most of the echoes out of the first one. Now we have this new recording equipment, so I'm not going to have to worry about that as much. I checked the different interviews that I did this week, and they sound really good. So hopefully that's the last of our crappy recordings.
But bear with us. This is number 2.
We're
learning. We're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Things I wanted to bring out on the NBA side of the house. Kind of themes of this conversation with her. The biggest thing mostly that I noticed was the connecting the services to customers. Like you'll see during the interview, she was able to like find, even though her main objective is cleaning, she was able to find ways to connect to the customers that was more than cleaning, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that afterwards. Another thing that jumped out to me too was the organic growth. Again, like we were talking to Paul last week and how he, one of the challenging things about a new business is getting those first clients, but then it's kind of a domino effect. If you do well, it just kind of, that growth is just organic.
Yep.
Another thing that to look out for that as a point on my side was the clear communication she has with her customers, like what to expect coming in, and then the formal agreements. Like she talks about some contract work and things that they can and can't do and putting those expectations. So those are kind of the big things.
Well, there are things that like she can and can't do, but there's things that she won't do.
Right.
And that was very interesting to me because doing like what she does and the things that she said, like, and these are things you guys need to watch out for because it was like things I learned is the do's and don'ts, like things that they will do for customers and the things that they won't do for customers.
Yeah.
So that's something that also is highlighted.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. I really like Tina. She was a really good interviewee. It was my second interviewing, so I was a little bit nervous, but she kind of hand walked me through it.
Yeah.
She's awesome. So without further ado,
I hope that you enjoy it. This is Tina with Krud and Korners.
All right, so we're talking to Tina. She is a small business owner. So Tina, like, what is your business, and like, give us a little like elevator pitch of what your business does.
Elevator pitch. Okay, so my business's name is Krud and Korners, and Krud and Korners both start with K because my legal name is Christina, and my business partner's name is Kayla. So it was kind of just a funny little thing that we decided on.
It's Easter egg.
Yeah, and surprisingly, people love it. But so we do professional house cleaning. So we're house cleaners. We mainly do residential. That's our favorite. And essentially we want to bring some sparkle to people's lives. Make their homes a little cleaner, make them smell nice. We want them to come home and not walk through the door and just go, oh, it smells good in here, but it feels good in here.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you come up with the whole sparkle thing or?
So yeah, that was Kayla. Kayla was like, oh, we should do like add some extra sparkle. So we kind of have like on our website when people check it out, it's like there's our basic clean is called a clean and simple. For our deep cleans, our move outs it's called down and dirty. And then our add-ons like cleaning inside of ovens, inside of refrigerators, just little things people can add on, window cleaning. It's called add extra sparkle.
That's amazing. I really like that. That's really nice. What inspired you to start this business?
So I was working a normal 9 to 5, and originally I was hired at the place to do cleaning. It's a hospitality place. It's a RV resort campground in the area, and I was hired on originally to do cleaning, and then I also did reservations, and I loved it until management changed.
Oh.
And
seems like a common denominator here.
It really is. Yeah, management changed, and a lot got added onto my plate, which I was enjoying. I was now also the group coordinator and the contact for anybody who wanted to have weddings there or rent out the entire park. And I didn't mind it. I was good at it. But there was no additional compensation, no additional pay. More and more just kept getting added on. And I struggled with being like, no, was a big struggle there because like I had loved the job for so long that for me it was hard for me to say no, I'm not going to do that, because I feel like if I'm going to do something, I want to do it all the way. And it's got to be perfect. And so eventually like I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I'm not happy anymore here. When I first started this job, I loved it. And I loved it for so long. And it was like a family. And now it's not that anymore. So finally decided to walk away. And I was like, I prefer the cleaning aspect of this job. So I went to a large cleaning company out here. And my first day, I called my best friend, who's my business partner. And I was like, I kept getting told to stop cleaning things. Like, I'm here to clean their house. What do you mean I can't clean that? So my first couple weeks where I was training, they kept telling me to stop scrubbing the bathtub so much.
What the?
And, oh no, we just wipe things down and we move on. And I'm like, but
mediocre.
I can get that stain off.
Yeah.
And so I struggled. If nope, a master bath should take no more than 21 minutes. Like, there was a time frame for everything to be done in. And I was like, I understand time frames. I understand, but if I can spend an extra 5 minutes getting that stain out, I want to get that stain out. Right. I know I can do it. I have the products right here. So it was just those little things that I was so unhappy with, because I was like, if I'm going to clean something, I wanted to clean it.
Right.
And so between Kayla and Paul, they were like, why don't you just do your own thing? Just do it. And so Kayla's like, look, I've got the money to do the whole. I can fund it myself. Let's just do it. She's like, you handle all the people things, and I can fund it. I can start out. And I was like,
hey, that sounds like somebody I know.
So finally, I put in my 2-week notice at that company, and we went out on our own. We got the LLC. We paid for all that, and went on a shopping spree. Got vacuums, some different mops. So we've got like 4 different mops, like depending on the type of flooring you have, you know, and we have a couple vacuums. We got cleaning caddies, stocked them with all of our own supplies, because that was the big thing, is we wanted to be able to, you don't have to provide anything. We will bring everything in.
Okay.
So.
And you can do it at your standard.
And we get to do it at our standard, yeah.
So if there's a stain, you can spend a little bit more time.
And we can spend a little bit more time. So we typically go in and we do free consultations. So we'll have them walk us through their home. We talk to them, get a feel for what they're really wanting done and needing done. And then we'll give them a quote on price and approximate time frame. But if we run 30 minutes over, like, it's normally included, So our first clean is always a little longer than any clean. We let them know, hey, our first clean, we're typically going to be here longer, because we're going to try to get everything to where when we come in a week or in 2 weeks again, it is more of a upkeep.
Right.
But our big thing is, like, we want to make it easier so we can do the deep scrubbing to where, you have time to fold your laundry and put away your laundry. You have time to do the things, the little things around the house. Let us handle the big stuff. Let us disinfect your bathroom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's awesome. I would love to have a service like that. So what's something about your business that people don't realize it?
I think that when people think about starting like a cleaning company, or they think about cleaning companies, I don't think they think about the fact that you are going into someone's personal space. This is someone's home. This is their safe space. That's probably where they feel the safest. That it's important for you to make sure that they feel safe with you as well.
Yeah. And
comfortable with you, because it's nerve-wracking inviting some stranger into your home, and, they're working around your jewelry, your money, anything, your keepsakes. Like, it's important to, if you're going to hire somebody, to make sure that you feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, build that trust.
Yeah, and if you're like we are, you're going into these people's home, to understand that that's their safe space.
Yeah. Huh. So going into the business journey kind of questions, what are some of the big hurdles that you ran into that first year getting started?
So we're in our first year still.
Oh, so what are the big hurdles that you're currently dealing with?
So I think at first it was building that clientele. It was making those phone calls, and, essentially kind of having to make some, like, we were going through Facebook and just commenting our business name and, hey, messaging people anytime we saw them looking for cleaning. And of course, Paul was a big help with, handing out our business cards. And So at first it was that, building that clientele, it was really nerve wracking because it was like, how do we start from nothing?
Yeah.
And then once we got that going, it was pretty, and now it's saying no.
Yeah. Now everybody wants you.
Now it's saying no to like the jobs where we're like, okay, this is no longer a beneficial job for us. Sometimes we have the clients who will try to leave their dishes for us to do. We don't do dishes. It's a big liability to do dishes. It's not something we offer. What if that's your grandma's china and we break it, because things happen.
Scrub off the pattern.
Yeah.
And now what do you do?
So we don't do dishes. We don't do laundry. So it is, it's sticking to our boundaries now of we don't offer that service.
That's interesting. Like, how do you get to a boundary? Is it just kind of like learning as you start doing stuff? You're like, oh, we're not going to do that ever again, or is it something that you actually put in place? When
we started, like we didn't want to do dishes, did our research. It is just a high liability.
Yeah.
Of this could be, family heirloom.
Right.
How do you put a price on a family heirloom?
Right.
That's hard when it comes to insurance purposes.
Yeah.
So we kind of decided, dishes were not something we wanted to do for that reason. Also, clothing, it is so easy. What if they changed their laundry detergent, didn't realize that they had an allergy to it, and then we washed their clothes with it? Like, we could be held liable.
Right.
Even though they purchased it, or if we bring our own in. There's just too many. So it was doing our research on, okay, what are we okay? What will insurances cover? What will, So doing all of that research, we have service contracts for our clients. So we put in there everything that we will provide for their home and what we do provide. And of course, like if they needed to add things on here and there, like we don't really nickel and dime so much for that stuff, or like, oh, we have to change the whole contract because we have the general contract of what we will provide. So then they sign that, they have that in their email, we keep it on our files. So it protects us. We have in there what we do not offer, such as dishwashing and, doing laundry. And so we just make sure that we keep that on file too.
So if you could go back and do something differently as you got started, what would that be?
I think that's I think I would have done more research on pricing in our area.
Okay.
We definitely lowballed ourselves when we started out.
That's probably good though. You get clientele if you're like super cheap, but you're kind of feel it a little bit, right?
So we do feel a little bit. And then the hard thing is now, like we have a couple clients that, we are not making a good amount of money off of. But we are emotionally attached to them now. So
right.
We're keeping them. We love them. They've become adopted. So they get to stay. So now we have to, of course, while we bid newer jobs, keep that in mind. Okay, when we started out, we did not charge enough for the fact that we provide all of our own cleaning products. So that's a thing. We're still playing around with the idea of cancellation fees. You see online where when you do your research, they say you should have one.
Right.
For us, it's, I have kids. Paul, he's got kids. If kids are sick, I'm going to have to cancel.
Yeah.
That's going to happen sometimes. So we try to keep our cancellation policy, like if you can message us if you have to message us the day of, please give us an hour's notice.
Right.
At least, we don't want to show up at your house and then you not let us in.
But you can backfill too. Like if you cancel, I can get another appointment that I couldn't get in that time frame as well, right?
So that's the hard part is we're trying to figure out how we, make our cancellation policy fair to us and fair to our clients. And honestly, our clients are amazing. The times where, I have been sick and have had to reschedule, they've been absolutely great about. They've been like, oh, just get better.
Yeah.
Well,
because you have that relationship, right?
Yeah,
so
we've built that relationship. We have one client we have tea with after we clean. Sit down and we drink a cup of tea afterwards.
Yeah, and I remember you have one client that gives you clothing because they're teenagers growing out of it.
Yeah, their teenager goes out of it, so we get clothing he grows out of for boys at home.
That's cool. I don't know if that's a small town thing or if that's like whatever, but it seems it's pretty cool that you have that kind of clientele, you know, and that relationship with that clientele. So what was one of what was an unexpected challenge that you ran into as you got started?
I think it's probably being like prepared for all the things that could go wrong. You know, like
you just assumed everything was going to be flowers and
we can get to the job, we'll clean the job, everything will be perfect, right?
Yeah, super easy.
And you know, we've learned it doesn't always go that way. Everybody has their off days. We had one day where my business partner forgot to clean a microwave.
Oh no!
And so they called us, and we went back and we cleaned the microwave, of course, and they cleaned the whole kitchen while we were there. And they're like, you don't have to do that, but they had just made dinner. And so we're like, no, we'll just clean the whole kitchen. We forgot a microwave, anyway. We're here. We're not going to come in just to clean a microwave. So those little things, you know. And then another job, I get up in the morning, and he tells me my tire looks low on air. So he puts air in my tire. Go pick up my business partner. We get to this job, and it's a big house. And I'm cleaning the master bathroom, and I see out this gorgeous window first that my tire is now completely flat. And I was like, I don't know how to change a tire. These are things I did not prepare for. I have a car that's got to be loaded with all this cleaning supplies. And thankfully, Paul wasn't too far away. So I had to call him to come change my tire.
What a knight in shining armor.
And have to get the tire fixed for a week later for me to get another flat tire.
Oh, jeez. Seems like a tire problem.
So, you know, it's just anticipating, like, I wasn't prepared for there to be having to call clients at 8 a.m. to go, I'm so sorry.
Uh-oh.
I have a flat tire. I might be like 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
My boyfriend needs to change it again.
How's the local community shaping your business? So I know that you're in a small environment, like I was asking Paul earlier. As it's growing, like as the environment, like the city's kind of getting bigger, you're starting to get more corporations in here, you're starting to get more and more people, houses are being built, it's getting to be bigger. How's that kind of affecting your business and your future projections and whatever?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen some more phone calls coming in, especially when you got like springtime when people start buying and everything. Now that it's getting nice, we get kind of like all of a sudden we had like a bunch of phone calls coming in, and a lot of them were, hey, we just bought a house there, but we're not living there yet. We want to have it cleaned before we get there. So we were getting a ton of those phone calls. The hard thing for us is we do consultations. We've decided we are not taking houses we cannot walk through, because we do not want to walk into a house and go,
this is a murder. A murder has been done.
This is
house,
There's like, okay, this is not coming out, you know, like we want to be able to physically walk through. So, I mean, that part's been a hard thing for us because we're like, no, we are pretty strict on our consultation. And with them like, well, we're not going to be there until we move in. So at that point, we usually recommend the larger companies in town that will go and clean these things without the consultations, you know, like, okay, they're bigger. They have the insurance if something, you know, they have more
resources
staff.
To be able to handle something larger like that, right?
Exactly. Like we're 2 people. We've got a part-timer who as needed comes on, you know, so we're like 3 people in total. So we don't want to have to do those crazy big jobs. Like we've, you know, my uncle's place, we did a 14-hour clean on for a move out, or once he passed, for my mom to sell it. And, you know, so we've done some bigger cleans, but we don't like going in blind.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? So what's your favorite customer success story?
I guess I have a lot of those.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to pick. So it's kind of hard to like pick like the stories. I guess like our very first residential client would probably be like, we adore him. He's great. His daughter is just a sweetheart too, cute little girl. And he found us because Paul shared one of like the flyers that we'd made on Nextdoor. So he called. We just got back from our sand dunes vacation that we take with my family every year. And I was literally vacuuming out sand in my car. And the business line on the phone starts ringing. So it's like, this is like our first phone call.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was super excited, So I answer the phone and he's like, yeah, I was wondering if you could come out for a consultation. And I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, I only have today where I'm home. Then I go back to work for, I'm going to be working for a while. Can you come out today? I was like, I'm literally vacuuming sand out of my car, but like I can come over really fast, So I went over there and met his daughter and his dog and him and did walk through, emailed him out the quote and everything, and we started cleaning the next week.
Wow.
And so now he's a regular client and he tips us crazy well too. Super sweet man. We just adore him in general, and his little girl's so cute, and his little dog Oscar, his little wiener dog.
Yeah.
And it amuses me. His name is Oscar. But
Oscar the wiener dog.
Yeah. So we started there, and he works long shifts. So we take his dog out to go potty before we leave, and if he needs to go out when we first get there, and make sure he's got water and food down and treats, of course. And so now he shares our flyers on social media too. And then he went out of town. He asked us if we could, or if we knew anybody who could watch his dog for him. And so my business partner dog sat his dog for 3-4 days, and he's like, "You girls are just the best." And so
Full stop shop.
Yeah, when he has things going on with his kiddo where he's like, here's things we're struggling with. He'll talk to me about it. We have that relationship, and I think it's that almost that we've become family.
That's
in
nice.
that sense, where it's, he's comfortable. He just has a key made for us that we keep, and when it's time, we remind him we're coming out the day before, and he's like, "Yeah, but you guys know how to get in." But him sharing our business cards all the time, he asks for more. He shares it on social media. It's a great feeling to know that, he not only likes us as people, but he believes in the work we do.
Yeah, that's great. Moving into personal and fun questions. What's something that you do daily that helps you stay focused?
Drink a lot of caffeine. Make a lot of Starbucks
There you
trips.
go. Mikel does the same. Right? She's got her Pepsi right now.
Yeah, I know. Especially for big move out jobs or any of the bigger houses. Me and my business partner, whenever we're on a job together, we call it our reward coffee. After we finished everything, it's time to go get our reward coffee. And then a lot of times if it's a bigger job, we also go get coffee beforehand, and that's our motivation coffee. So we're overly caffeinated.
Yeah. And then you have your during work coffee, and then
Yeah.
you have to celebrate that with coffee.
Exactly.
There you go.
And then you have to have the end of day coffee with dinner, and
There you go.
your first waking up coffee.
Okay.
So we're just overly caffeinated.
Sounds like an anxiety attack for myself. But what do you do? If you weren't running this business right now, what would you be doing?
Whew, that's hard. I've worked a lot of different jobs.
Yeah.
I been through cosmetology school. I did that, into teaching, into now this. So I probably would still be with another cleaning company, just because I've noticed it is the job that is I really love.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably still be with a cleaning company, but I definitely prefer this. I have more time for, my kiddo. Having this job has been the first time I've been able to go to his Valentine's Day stuff at school.
That's nice.
And make it out. It's, to those little things that he has going on. And that's been so exciting for him. So I'm glad I have this job. I'm glad that I went off and we did our own thing, but I would probably still be cleaning somewhere for somebody.
You know what? I love cleaning. It's just one of my stress relievers, and right now I'm doing a little bit of reselling on the side, and I don't really care about the reselling. I don't really care about picking up the items or selling the items, but taking the items and cleaning them and making them look brand new, it's one of my favorite things. So I totally get what you're saying, right? But you get to do it on a Mondo scale. You get to do, take a house.
Yeah, I get to do the whole house.
And get it reset back to clean. So that's a win for everybody. I mean, it's a win for you. It's a win for the people that own the house, right?
Yeah, when they come in, they go, "It smells great and it feels great in here." You're just
kind of jealous of your customer. We're too far for you to come help me. So what's one of the weirdest requests you've gotten from one of your customers?
We don't get too many weird requests, thankfully.
Walk my dog, I guess, would be the weirdest one. Or?
I mean, he never even asked us. He just asked us to let him outside, but we were too afraid somebody would take him because he's so cute. So we walk him. I think like the hardest things for us is we're chickens. We're terrified of mice. We're terrified of spiders. Paul's over here laughing.
Yeah.
He has to live with me. So it's, we've walked into houses and it's like, yeah, if you can get all the spiders. And we're like, yeah, we're going to get those. And I walk around with my vacuum hose and I just vacuum them up, and I vacuumed somebody's entryway because I needed more dust to kill the spiders. That my vacuum is how I felt. Like, I'm completely terrified. So probably that's our biggest thing is like, we'll walk in and they'll be like, yeah, all the spiders. And we're like, like,
there's a service charge for that now.
We're considering it.
Yeah, $20 per spider.
We have the clients who will joke around about, their personal toys. And we're like, yeah, we don't clean those. That's on you. We have the clients who will joke around with us a lot about that stuff. But, luckily, we haven't been asked to handle any of that stuff. So.
Currently.
Yeah.
You'll have a special service fee. On the closing question side, so what advice would you give somebody starting out trying to do something like this? If they wanted to go out there, they just got done, maybe they're in your circumstance, they're in a cleaning company and it's just the worst, and they want to strike out on their own. What would your suggestions be?
My suggestion would be definitely either create or purchase like a cleaning contract, a cleaning service contract. That way, in there we have in ours, it has a place for them to sign that says we can take pictures. Ours has our cancellation policy. Ours has the services we do provide and do not provide. It's very clear. So that kind of protects us. And I recommend doing your research. Check what in the area other cleaners are charging. And don't just go off of whatever you see on Facebook. On Facebook, you're going to see these big companies that are like, oh, $19, for a deep clean. Like, no, that's not realistic.
Yeah, like, it's probably getting you in the door kind of price.
That's a clickbait thing. Yeah. Like, actually do your research. Actually look into what, and do consultations. It is not fun. We've gone into a couple houses blind now, and it is absolutely awful going into a house blind, and you're like, oh, there's mice droppings in here now, like that I have to clean up that are everywhere, or
cockroaches.
Yeah. So then you're like, okay, cool. Like, so definitely, we do a free consultation. So we have it down for an hour long. Usually it takes about 30 minutes to do. And we spend the other 30 minutes just talking to our clients and making sure that they're comfortable. Any questions are asked. In our consultation, we make sure to ask about allergies. If there's any pets, children, we don't want to spray something in their house they could potentially be allergic to.
Right.
So, like, we have one client, only person who's mentioned allergy, they're like, oh, we have severe allergy to, like, anything grapefruit.
Oh, interesting.
And so, of course, like, okay, well, grapefruit is not in any of our cleaning products, but anything that would even have artificial, we would avoid. And just in case, like, okay, hey, we'll just like, we bought some she bought a cleaning product before that was like all natural, and I guess it had like extracts of grapefruit, and she had a reaction.
Ooh.
And so now we just make sure we check our labels. We make sure not to bring anything that is going to be harmful, and those are things that our clients have said that like really have set us apart too, is other cleaning companies have never once asked them if they have an allergy to anything.
Right. They just have their standard cleaning stuff and they just plow on through.
Yep.
Yeah. Where do you see your business in 5 years?
I mean, it's already grown more than we were really anticipating it going. We've got Airbnbs now that we're doing. We have a meeting to start managing an Airbnb. So it looks like if we start doing that in the summertime, we definitely need to bring somebody else on for cleaning. So we're hoping to kind of grow off of that. The Airbnbs have been a fun one for us.
Really?
We've absolutely loved it. So we want to bring on more Airbnbs and maybe be able to grow in that aspect in the next 5 years, have more Airbnb clients, and, hopefully the management of it will go really well too, and we'll be able to bring more in there.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to watch. Do you have anybody that you think we should interview next?
Oh gosh. I would say Paul's friends with Phoenix. They're really nice.
Yeah?
They're great. Yeah.
He's the one that does the alarm systems, right?
HVAC.
HVAC, yeah. Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, HVAC is kind of a big thing, so that'd be nice to get to know.
Yeah, and they seem to grow pretty quickly out here too.
Yeah, they went fast.
They do
Wow.
really fast.
I think they would double on what my numbers. They started like way later than me.
Yeah.
Holy.
We might need to make another trip out here, Mikhail.
Yeah.
And let's say this becomes a thing. What would you like to tell your potential customers about? My specific question is, what would you like to say to potential customers listening to this interview?
We are local to the Mesa County area where we live here. We take pride in cleaning your home and making it sparkle. We want you to come home and be able to relax, have more time with your kids, with your family, or just to go out and do whatever it is that you enjoy doing. So you can give us a call, find us on Facebook or Instagram, and we are pet friendly.
Perfect.
We will walk your pets.
Cool. Thanks, Tina.
Okay, welcome back. That was the interview with Tina. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did anyway.
I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys felt her positivity that I told you to look for, and how much she enjoys what she does. And that's a lot of takeaway that I had. But what was some of your takeaways?
So super interesting. I never even thought about the world of cleaning, because personally, I love cleaning. It's one of my favorite things. My OCD just absolutely loves it. And for those of you that know or don't know, me and Becky normally help a friend of ours clean their Airbnb from time to time. And it's one of my favorite things. Also cleaning the house.
Yeah.
Like I love ripping this place apart and just resetting it back to brand new. I mean, it's one of my favorite things. And so talking to somebody that does this for a living,
it's interesting.
a little envious. Like I would love to do that and get paid to do it. But I mean, just the getting paid to do something I like to do, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if have you heard of the hedgehog principle?
No.
There's a book called Good to Great. I think
we've talked about it.
Yeah, and basically for the people listening, is if you read the book Good to Great, it talks about this. Think of a Venn diagram of three circles, right? And one circle is what you're good at, like things that because of your education or you're just innately talented to do. If you list those out, list all the things that you're good at, and then you take another circle, and that circle is all the things you like to do. You know, the things that when you do that, it's just a pleasure.
Yeah.
And then the third circle, you put things that people will pay you to do. The thing that meets in the middle is your hedgehog. It's the thing that you're good at, what you can get paid to do and you love to do. I'm missing the will get paid to do part of that section of cleaning.
Because you just love it. Yeah. It's one of those things, like as a couple, is if we set our mind that something's going to be cleaned and it's going to be cleaned to like perfection.
Oh yeah.
We do that together. Like we can tear anything apart and we can leave something that looked terrible brand new. Yeah. Like within hours. Like we did it over the weekend.
This weekend we just ripped apart our master bathroom and we scrubbed the walls. We scrubbed it. Oh man, it was great.
We did everything. We hauled off probably, a 50-pound bag of trash. Like it was insane. And it took both of us to throw it away. But I mean, it's one of those things that like we do. Like it's just one of those things. It's a mindset of like, this is what has to be done. And that's what Tina does, because she has that mindset. But the other thing that like drew me in was, man, she puts her heart into this. Mm-hmm. This is her passion.
Oh yeah. Remember that one part where she was talking about how the only reason she started this thing was she was working somewhere else doing this, and they weren't doing it to her standard. And she's like, F this, I'll just do it myself.
She's like, stop cleaning. How do you tell somebody to stop cleaning? You're like, but you're leaving that like not clean. And they're like, we just wipe it and we move on.
Yeah.
Like, who does that? Like,
I mean, I get like the time limits and stuff like that because you have to make money. And if somebody's just messing around and taking forever, I get that part. But I don't think Tina's one of those people that messes around, you know?
Yeah.
And so she just was given a little bit more time. I mean, it goes back to that thing, you know, treat your employees well and they won't leave you.
Yeah.
So like you had a couple points going before the interview. Let's dive a little bit into those.
So my points were, I mentioned the one was Tina's positivity. Like, I don't know. I hope that you felt that. Yeah. Like, I hope that and if you need to go back and re-listen to it, because I've listened to it twice now and I'm like, man, my day was better.
Brightened your day.
Like my whole day was better. Yeah. I'm like, and it's just one of those things. And
she's like that in real life too.
Yeah,
like when you hang out with her,
like it's not just like she put on a show for us. That's how Tina is normally.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things. You talk to her on the phone, like you see her in person, she's just like radiates sunshine, right? Or she radiates positivity. The other things that I've learned is that she learned to say no. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I think it's funny, like, because we clean, like we've mentioned, we clean an Airbnb, but we do everything while we're there. And the one thing that Tina said is like, I'm not going to do your dishes and I'm not going to do your laundry.
Yeah.
Because for one, I don't enjoy doing those things. So honestly, it's hard doing it for other people.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if we were doing something like that, it's something that I wouldn't mainly think about. Because like talking to Paul on the first episode, there was a lot of this like, and interviewing some people, I've noticed when you're a new business, yes to everything, right? Mm-hmm. You want a plug in the ceiling? I'll put that in, right? But eventually you're like, I don't do that anymore, right? She came in with, all right, here are my boundaries.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about that a little bit. You know, I know, I guess I just don't know this industry that well, but I didn't even think about the whole like washing dishes and doing laundry as something that's potentially a risk, you know?
Well, it is a risk. What if you, like she mentioned, she's like, what if you dropped somebody's like grandma's 50-year-old plate when you're washing it and you break it and you're like,
yeah,
what do I do now? Right. And what if, you know, you're washing somebody's clothes and you shrink a cashmere sweater that you had no idea was cashmere and you shrunk it. And now it fits the dog and not the human, you know, it's kind of those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially if you have employees and they do it, you know, and now you're at risk at all kinds of stuff, right?
But I do like how she mentioned how her and Kayla are on the same page with everything. And how Kayla was like, you hate your job? Well, I understand that you hate your job. I have the money to fund it. You love what you do. Let's bring it together and make it a business to do it. And that's kind of the passion that they have. That
is interesting because I've interviewed a couple other people after this, and you guys will hear it in the future. But one of the things that you either love your business partner or it does not work. I was talking to this lady at this company that's in the mall a few days ago, and she was talking about how her husband had a business partner and they started together, and they were just like this, right? Mm-hmm. They were, you know, best friends. They were blood brothers, as she would call it. But there was a falling out, and now they had to split everything, and now lawyers are getting involved, and they're like, just don't get a business partner.
Yeah.
Right. And that's nerve-wracking because sometimes having a business partner is good because they help you. You know, normally what happens is you guys kind of push off of each other, like what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
We kind of push off of each other. We work off of each other. We give each other motivation. We give each other kind of like, it makes it harder to be lazy if you have somebody to work with.
Yeah.
But if it goes bad, it goes bad, right?
Like knowing both Kayla and Tina, like, and the things that I've learned is Tina's bubbly and can talk to people, but Kayla's a little bit more reserved.
Yeah.
So like that's how they feed off of each other, is one's quiet, reserved, and one's able to go in and talk and do the bubbly part of it.
A lot of times you'll complement each other. A lot of times you'll have somebody that's more like A to B, and the other person's more like I don't know, visionary. Like they'll have all these ideas, but they're all over the place. And the other person's like, we got to get this done by Tuesday, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a whole bunch of dynamics. As we interview people in the future, we're going to see these kind of dynamics. It's going to be really interesting.
Yes.
What other big points you have?
I kind of have to go back to a little bit, you know, Paul made this comment, but Tina's also made the same comment. Paul started a business because one, the 9 to 5, Tina was the same thing. And Tina mentioned too that now she has like, I can say no to a job because I need to be where the kids are. I am able to go to the kids' stuff. I'm able to drop in at the school. I'm able to do whatever it takes. And when you work a 9 to 5, you can't just do that. So that's part of like owning your own business, is being able to be flexible and support the family.
That's one of the beauties of having your own grind. I've been thinking about that for a couple months now, where if you're starting your own business, let's say for instance, you're going to do a food truck. I don't know. You're going to start a business, right? You're going to do a food truck. It's your grind. You're going to go out there and try to figure out the best place to put the truck. You know, we're going to get the supply chain of like how we're going to get the food in, how we're going to cook it, what's our menu. All this stuff it's a grind. You're going to do it. You have to do all this stuff, but it's yours, right? As opposed to if you have a 9 to 5 job, and this is kind of the entrepreneur spirit. If you have a 9 to 5 job, your grind is helping someone else's
Business
vision,
girl.
right? So if we had a food truck and then we hired somebody to be a cook, they're helping us get our business moving, right?
Yeah.
And so theirs is a job. You know what I'm saying? Theirs is a job. And so sometimes it's really hard to have a 9 to 5 where you're like, oh, cool. If I work really hard, I can get their business better, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just not that rewarding because they benefit at the end of it. Again, if you're running a company, you really need to take care of your people, right? It's a group effort here. And I know we live in capitalism, and I know it's one of the things where you start a business, and I don't know. I have a lot of opinions on this, but I'm not going to get too deep into it.
But I think it goes the same way with like you're working for someone that has a business, and you're watching them grow, and you're watching them take the credit for everything that you're doing. But look at how people's names grow, because Tina and Kayla are doing a business.
Right.
And it's the two of them. But what happens when you do a good job is your name gets put out there.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're like, I need somebody to clean. Who should I call? And you're talking to the right person, and they're like, man, I had Krud and Korners come to my house, and I've never had my house look or smell so well.
Yeah.
And that's something that she mentions about the smell.
I love
but
that.
The other thing that she also mentioned is you never know what people's allergies are. I never would have thought about this, but like she has one customer that says, hey, can you not use, I think it was grapefruit smell, because it bothered her. I would have never thought of not walking into somebody's house and spraying something to make their house smell good.
Right.
Or something to like.
Good smell's a good smell, right?
Yeah. But I would have never thought about somebody's allergies and how it affected them. I mean, who thinks of that?
That's the difference between us being in the business and us not being in the business.
Yeah.
Like some people are just smarter than us.
Yeah.
On the MBA side, so I have a few notes on the MBA side. I just kind of want to tie it to what I learned in class and whatever. One of the things that was really the theme that I felt was the connecting services of the customer. I kind of mentioned that a little bit in the beginning. Like for instance, the initial, there's this thing called initial market penetration. And so basically what that is, it's fancy talk for like how we're going to reach out to our market. So the first thing you have to do as a company, or if you're starting a company, is you have to do some research on your target demographic or your target market, right? Because there's two things really. You want to make sure that there's enough people out there, right? It's called the TAM. And what it is it's the total available market, TAM. And what that is basically is like if I'm going to sell guitars, let's say, right? How many people do I think in this neighborhood will buy a guitar? So if I buy 1,000 guitars, but there's not that many people that play guitar, I'm going to be wasting a bunch of money. And so it's not viable enough for me to be able to go into a guitar business. I have to make sure there's enough market, right? If I'm going to sell cars, but nobody drives cars, what do I do, right? And so, but if there's like 1,000 people out there that want a car and I have the availability of getting those cars to them, great. So the first thing is that is figuring out what your TAM is, like just what I'm going to sell a thing, I'm going to do a product, I'm going to do a service. Do I have enough market or am I going to run out of people?
Yes.
And understanding what that target market is. Maybe if you're selling paintings and no one here is into art, what a
waste of time.
Yeah. What's the business really going to be? And then to connect to those customers, again, with the initial market penetration, like just utilizing the various channels. I know that Tina was talking about how they use Facebook a lot. That was really their main drive, but they were really heavy on the phones. They're really heavy on the like networking, getting people
giving their cards out.
Right.
Because she's connected with Paul. So Paul goes in and does a job and he's like, hey, if you ever need this, here's a cleaning business. And he's handing out cards. Like he's handing out cards everywhere he goes. And that's part of it.
Yeah.
So it's
now the next level to that. Their company's still small, right? Mm-hmm. And I think they're like only a half year in.
I think that's what she said. Yeah, somewhere in there. They're in their first year.
And so the next level, what she could do is start doing some data and analytics with that. Like when she reaches out to people, what is the percentage of success?
Yeah.
What does it cost for every person she gets on board? Right? Like if she put a lot of marketing in and she gets 3 people, you divide that cost by that. And that's how what your average cost would be to get someone ahead. And the reason that's important is to do forecasting. So if you want to scale up, so if you know it costs about $1,000 to get per person, well, if you're going to get 100 people, it's 100 times that, right?
Yeah.
And so you really want to get those costs to make sense. Now, we were talking about the organic growth a little bit because both Paul and Tina had this whole, they live in a small town. They belong to a lodge. There's a lot of I know a guy who knows a guy. And so there's this organic growth. And a lot of that organic growth, I feel, comes from, it's driven by the satisfaction of customers and that breeds loyalty, right? So Tina is doing great.
Yes.
And people like her. And so because she's doing well and people like her, people aren't going to leave, right? Why go to someone else that's going to be subpar if already have a good thing? But also what this could do, and this is probably Tina's next step in the future, is this is going to kind of promote almost a referral program. That's what I would probably do. Once you get some of these loyalties, it's going to be hey, can you like what I do, right?
Tell your friends.
Could you tell your friends? And if you tell 5 people, you get a free cleaning or something like that, right? Just some sort of program that will push out the referrals.
Yeah. Which is understandable.
Okay.
Well, and that's the other thing that she talked about. And I know it was closer to the end that she talked about, but it was where she talked about doing your research. And anybody can clean a house for $20, but what kind of quality are you getting out of $20?
I think that comes from, and I could be wrong, but I think that comes from her innate ability of being a badass.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. Totally.
Because I could do that same thing and fail.
Oh yeah.
I could be like, I can clean a house for $20 and then I suck. But she has this like ability to like know what's good and how to get it done correctly that I think is just unique with her. She just has that entrepreneur spirit.
Well, and the other thing that she talked about is they don't just take a call and be like, okay, I'll be there at 2:00 tomorrow to clean your house. They go at 2:00 and they do a complete walkthrough.
I like that.
Like they don't show
liked
up and
that.
just be like, okay, what do you want me to clean?
Yeah.
They go and they look.
They figure
and
it out.
figure out like, okay, this room is I need to do this in this room and this room I need to do this. But like, and then like Tina and Kayla sit down and they strategize and they bring together like, this is what needs to be done at this house. So we have this time to do it so we can move on to our next. And she says, if there's a day that they get busy, they do have like, a part-time person that does a little bit of help for them, which is good. But like, I would have never thought to go into a house and do a consultation. My first thought is what do I need to do so I can get out of here?
Yeah.
Because I'm in a stranger's house. I would have never thought of going in and like getting to know the person a little bit and then start cleaning.
Yeah. That kind of gets me into my next point, which is that clear communication with your customer, because I think it was a really smart idea because what she does, what they do, and you already heard it in the interview, but is they do that initial consultation for a couple of things. Number one, to see just what they're getting themselves into. But second, that's really important is like, if there was a murder at the house or like they walk into a hoarder house, or they walk in and they see obvious things that are dangerous, they just won't take the client.
Yeah.
Which is great. And it saves them. It protects them, right?
Well, and that was the other thing where she made the comment of she's typically as a go, yes, I'm a yes person. But now she's learning to say no. No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's big. That's a big thing. It's not like I need to say no.
I think that's the threshold of like when companies start to become something is when you have the ability to be like, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like that first like grind is like, I'll take anything. And then eventually you're like, I'm just not going to do that one thing anymore. Right.
Yeah. So one of the things that like stood out was how Tina and Kayla go into someone's home and build a trust.
Yeah.
And they use the example of the gentleman that they go and clean for, and they don't just like clean for him. They walk his dog and he was like, just let my dog out. But she's so worried about like somebody taking the dog or the dog running away. And then that's a liability on them. So like they make sure the dog's out, the dog does its business and comes back in. But now they've built such a trust with this gentleman that he left him a key.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't need to be home. You know what to do. Go and do what you need to do. Let my dog out. And, I don't need to be home. I trust you completely to be in my home. And that's a trust. I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's another thing that you have to realize. And I don't know if you guys felt it because I'm going to go back to it. That's part of Tina's personality. Like,
she's pretty trustworthy.
It's easy to like trust her, to love her. And I hope that like that's something that you guys felt.
Maybe we can hire them to clean our house.
Yeah. Maybe we can just pick her up from Colorado and bring her to Utah and just like let her do her thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but we can pray and hope.
I know.
I think for my last MBA point, I know I've had a couple on this one. I'm trying to take some of this feedback and do more. You're shaking your head, I know. But my last point with the MBA stuff is that I found interesting that just kind of like spurred a couple thoughts was her formal agreements.
Yeah.
Like her contracts. Even for small businesses, it's super important because it just kind of gets you out. Like she has a lot of like boundaries that she doesn't want. She wants people to be very aware of. And it also kind of, at the end of the day, if something were to happen, she can always refer to it. So it's something that is really easy to not think about when you're starting a business. It's like, just fix, I'm going to clean your fireplaces for a living. And then you just go in and clean.
Yeah.
Something could happen. Like you get soot on the carpet and you didn't really have that formal agreement. You could get screwed. So it might take more work. It might take a little bit extra work as an entrepreneur. But when you're starting your business, I think, talking to a lawyer, like doing some research on where you want to like set your boundaries and then make sure that's very clear, have signatures, have some tangible, sign offs.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the things that she mentioned, that like the do's and don'ts, because that's why she does the initial like consult, because like I mentioned, like if you're going to come in and clean my home, part of cleaning my home, I'd be like, why didn't you do my dishes? And I think that I mentioned that like there was stuff in the dryer that needed to be folded or things like that.
Yeah.
But because Tina goes in with that initial honesty and that upfrontness of I'm not doing this and I won't do this and I won't do this. I think that's part of like building the trust and building the partnership and having the loyalty with customers, because now the customer knows what she will do and what she won't do.
I agree.
So that's one of those things.
So last two things.
Okay.
Is there anything that we took away from the interview that changed the way we do things? Like, is there anything that now as you're going forward with this podcast or just in general, is there anything that you took away personally?
Things that I took away. Caffeine. Tina's life runs on caffeine.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'm going to say it, and I will say it anytime that I talk about Tina, she is like I said, I listened to the podcast twice. And man, I've had like the most fantastic day. And it's just because she radiates that. That's my takeaway, is like,
be positive.
Be positive.
Yeah, just like my blood type.
Be positive. And have a positive attitude.
That's why I'm such a joy.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, again, this is the second company that we talked to, and the common denominator is getting the start of your clientele, and then it just starts to domino. And I actually took some of that as I'm going out there finding people to interview, and I just hit the pavement and started going, and I could feel that like every third person says yes, but every third person, that kind of adds up, right? Like I talked to about 50 people today and I got 10 yeses, right, for interviews. But once those 10 are in, I don't know, maybe people will start to hear this podcast and be like, hey, maybe maybe they mean something. Maybe this is going to go somewhere, and maybe I can get some more people, and it'll just kind of feed. So I'm hoping that's the thing.
We can go back to the one of, this is a learning experience. Like, I hope that people can learn to be like, no, or I got to have a contract with someone. Boundaries. Like holding boundaries. Like there's got to be boundaries.
Yeah.
So that's another
Even if it's legality boundaries, like I'm not going to do something illegal. Start there, and then we go safety and et cetera, et cetera. And the last thing really to talk about before we sign off is, if we were to start a company like that, like how successful do you think we would be?
I think that we would be successful because, one, we work well together. And if there's something that I'm lacking in, you're able to pick it up. There's something you're lacking in, I'm able to pick it up. And it's that connection of one person is strong in something and one person's strong in something else.
Yeah.
And together,
I like the way you put that.
You bring together. Like Tina's bubbly and Kayla's a little reserved and quiet. Yeah. And together they make a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
Where they can do it.
And you're cute, I'm not. So we have that going. I wouldn't want to be a competitor
No.
of Tina. She would mop the floor with us, literally.
Yeah.
I lied. We have one other thing to talk about. Now that we've talked to an electrician and people that clean houses, like what would be an industry that would interest you next in interview?
Let us know. And we want your feedback. Like,
I'm asking you.
what I want?
Yeah. What would introduce, like, we've talked to an electrician, we've talked to house cleaning, like what do you think would be interesting to you right now?
How the behind the scenes of a food business? Like,
Guess what the next one is?
well, not just that, but like, I know that like we've interviewed a food business, but like you go into a place and you see little things, but like you don't see the nitty gritty part of it.
Yeah.
And oh shoot, did I make enough today to pay a bill tomorrow? Like those, it's the little things.
I would really like to talk to somebody who owns a food truck.
Yeah.
I haven't found anybody yet.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah. The problem is that like it's hard to talk to people in the food industry because they're busy.
Yeah.
And like I went to a coffee shop today and I wanted to talk to the owner and I looked around and I was like, this is not the time.
Yeah.
As a preview, the next one is I interviewed the owner of King Kebab. They're a Greek restaurant inside the mall in Provo. Really good conversation with her about the ins and outs of starting that business and getting that set up. Whole different theme.
That's going to be exciting. I'm so excited to learn from her.
I think one of the things learning from this is that I think each of these industries, I need different type questions. Like having the aha moment for a company that's doing house cleaning. I talked to an attorney. The aha moment's it's not an aha moment.
Everybody's
right?
going to have a different aha.
And so it's just like, I got to find some better questions. And so I'm hoping that we get more feedback from people.
Well, give us your feedback. Let us know what you want to know, because like we've said, we're all learning together.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to learn? Do you want to learn how to build a business? What questions would you ask?
Yeah. Questions would be nice. Interesting industries that you guys have that you are interested in. I can go, search. Or if you know someone that has a small business. Now, when I go out there and hit the pavement and talk to people, we do like to do the advertisement a little bit. And so we're pushing this podcast. We want it to be something. And so it's just going to help anybody involved. And so if we interview you, we will, give a little bit of time in the podcast to advertise. In fact, I think what I'll do is like Tina's stuff. I'll give everybody contact information. If you're in the Colorado,
Grand
Junction area and you're looking for a house cleaner that's amazing, in the description of this, I'll put her contact information. Maybe I should go back and put Paul's into the last one.
Paul's easy to find.
Yeah,
I think that Tina said that she was on Facebook, Instagram, and that's where we can find her.
Perfect. Thanks, Becky.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Always.
All right. Signing off. Bye, everybody.
Bye.